100 million years before us, this world is already running at full speed. Heat presses down like a weight. Leaves the size of doors shimmer with moisture. Birds scream. Sharp, reptile sounds echoing through a jungle that hasn't decided what it wants to be yet. And then, silence. Down on the floor, nothing moves. Rotting leaves. Wet soil. A place that smells like time itself. But under there, something's waiting. Barely a few centimeters below the surface, a door. A perfect circle of dirt and silk. You wouldn't notice it. No one ever does. Beneath that lid sits an animal older than flowers. Older than mountains. A spider. Not the kind that hangs webs in the sun. No, this one hunts from the dark. It waits, motionless, legs touching silk threads that stretch to the surface like tripwires. Every vibration is a signal. Something walked by. Too heavy. Too slow. Ignore it. Then, another step. Softer. Lighter. Prey. The trapdoor explodes upward. Fangs flash once. And that's it. The forest exhales again. One heartbeat gone. The door shuts. The ground looks untouched. If you walked over it now, you'd never know a hunt just happened beneath your feet. That moment, 2 seconds of violence, should have disappeared forever. But somehow it didn't. Because millions of years later, that same predator would be found again. Perfectly preserved inside a stone of honey-colored glass. Amber, a fossil heartbeat from the age of dinosaurs. When scientists saw it under the microscope, they froze too. There it was, every hair, every claw, every curve of those fangs. Not crushed, not broken, whole. A spider caught mid-existence, holding the same pose it held the instant the world ended for it. The discovery came from northern Myanmar, deep in the Hukong Valley, a graveyard made of gold. That forest, 99 million years ago, was leaking resin like blood. Thick rivers of sap running down tree trunks, trapping everything that brushed against them. Beetles, lizards, feathers from birds that hadn't even learned to fly well yet. Most of what got trapped was small and forgettable. But this was different. Spiders almost never fossilize. Their bodies collapse too fast. So finding one this perfect wasn't luck. It was a fluke of cosmic proportions. And it wasn't fragile either. This thing was built like a tank. Legs like pistons, fangs like daggers. Scientists called it a mygalomorph, the ancient family that gave rise to today's tarantulas and trapdoor spiders. Primitive? Sure. But primitive in the way a hammer is primitive, because it still works. Under magnification, the fossil showed everything. Tiny hairs still clinging to its legs. Spinnerets perfectly preserved. Even the claws that once gripped the walls of its silk tunnel. Every detail whispering the same story. This creature had already figured life out before mammals even mattered. While dinosaurs owned the daylight, this spider owned the dark. It ruled the soil, the silence, the seconds between movement and death. And nature, seeing perfection, never bothered to fix what wasn't broken. This was just the beginning. It looked ordinary at first. Just a lump of amber, golden, rough, cloudy. But inside that lump was something no one expected. Something that should have rotted to nothing long before humans existed. A spider. And not a fragile imprint or a fossil shadow. An actual body. Three-dimensional. Whole. Let's rewind. 99 million years ago, northern Myanmar was a steaming jungle. Thick air, constant rain, trees dripping with resin. Every wound in the bark oozed sap. Sticky, sweet, deadly. Insects flew into it. Lizards brushed against it. Even feathers got caught mid-flutter. Each drop became a tiny time capsule. Over the centuries, resin turned to amber. The kind of amber you see in jewelry, but older than mountains. Most amber fossils show tiny things. Flies, gnats, bugs too small to matter. But this one held a predator. A spider that had spent its life underground. A master of silence and surprise. And somehow, it ended up preserved in light. When scientists polished the amber and looked closer, the details hit like a punch. 8 legs, jointed and poised. Claws, still sharp. Fangs, still curved and ready. Spinnerets, frozen mid-motion. Even the tiny hairs that once sensed prey were still there. That level of preservation shouldn't exist. It's not just a fossil. It's a photograph of a moment that happened before mammals even had fur. Under magnification, they could almost feel what it was like to be that creature. The damp air, the dirt walls, the quiet heartbeat waiting under the soil. Scientists realized they weren't just looking at a spider. They were looking at a survivor, a mygalomorph, one of the oldest spider lineages alive, ancestors of modern trapdoor spiders and tarantulas. Back when T. Rex was still figuring out how to roar, this design was already ancient. The body plan hadn't changed in millions of years. Why would it? It worked. Long legs built for lunging, thick armor, fangs that don't miss. And here it was, a design so successful that evolution basically gave up trying to improve it. That's the real miracle of this fossil. Not just that it's beautiful, but that it shows us how little nature needs to change when it gets something right. Amber doesn't just trap things. It preserves truth, color, texture, life. That spider didn't just die. It got promoted to myth. A hunter from the dinosaur age, now glowing in the palm of a human hand. Not gone, just paused. Before it could hunt, it had to build. And what it built wasn't random instinct. It was precision. The kind of precision nature only gives to things that have been practicing for millions of years. See, trapdoor spiders don't spin webs. They build architecture. It starts simple, a patch of soil. The right spot can mean the difference between life and starvation. Too soft, it collapses. Too hard, it cracks. So it tests the ground. Gently, legs tapping, feeling texture, moisture, vibration. Like a builder inspecting the earth before laying a foundation. When it finds the perfect patch, the work begins. It digs using fangs and front legs, one scoop at a time. Lifts the dirt out. Carries it far from the hole. Never leaves a pile nearby. Never leaves evidence. Because in this world, being seen is being dead. The tunnel curves, never straight down. A perfect angle for drainage. A smooth curve to keep enemies guessing. As it goes deeper, the spider lines the walls with silk. Not for decoration, for structure. The silk hardens the tunnel, keeps it from collapsing. It's waterproof, flexible, and strong enough to outlast storms. But there's another reason. That silk acts like a nervous system. Every vibration from the surface travels down it. A message in the dark. Above, a beetle walks by. Below, the spider feels it through the silk. The world above becomes a rhythm it can read without seeing. At the bottom, it builds a small chamber. Its home. Its trap. Here it rests. Waits, prepares, and then comes the masterpiece, the door. It layers silk and soil until the colors match the ground exactly. It presses and leaves, tiny bits of bark, grains of sand. When it's done, you couldn't find it even if you were staring right at it. The hinge is pure genius. A strip of silk that bends but never breaks. It opens with no sound, no flash, no warning. From above, it's invisible. From below, it's life or death. When everything's ready, the spider takes its position. Front legs braced against the door. The rest of its body coiled deep in the tunnel. Every part of it becomes a sensor. Rain, wind, footsteps. It learns the rhythm of the world. The difference between danger and dinner. Sometimes it waits for hours. Sometimes days. Sometimes weeks. Motionless. Cold. Unblinking. Then, something steps close. Light. Small. Perfect. The door explodes open. Fangs strike. The forest loses another heartbeat. The door shuts. The silence returns. That's its genius. A predator that wins not by speed, but by patience. It doesn't waste energy chasing. It doesn't gamble. It just waits for certainty. And when that certainty comes, everything ends in one perfect movement. The trapdoor spider isn't just a hunter. It's an engineer. A survivor that learned how to weaponize stillness. And in nature, that's a kind of intelligence older than thought. Above ground, the world was chaos. Dinosaurs ruled the daylight. Wings and teeth and thunder in every direction. But under all that noise, another world breathed. This was the Cretaceous. No ice. No quiet. Just heat, storms, and endless green. Trees towered like cathedrals. Their trunks dripping with resin that smelled sweet and dangerous. Ferns rose shoulder high. Moss glowed wet on fallen logs. And the air shimmered with the weight of life. Everything fought for sunlight. Everything tried not to get eaten. And down in the dirt, under roots and shadows and rotting leaves, the trapdoor spider waited. This was its world. A place where sound mattered more than sight. where every step on the surface could mean life or death. The forest floor crawled with movement. Metal-armored beetles, early ants still figuring out teamwork, crickets, roaches, centipedes, a living current of prey. Every vibration ran through the silk like a heartbeat. The spider read it all. What was passing, what was hunting, what was safe. Above, smaller dinosaurs stalked through the undergrowth. Not the giants. These were fast, lean, feathered things. They hunted insects, maybe each other. Sometimes they dug through the soil, sniffing for anything that moved. If one of them found the trapdoor, the game was over. But most never did. The camouflage was flawless. When night came, the forest changed its face. The heat dropped. The sounds shifted. Crickets started their rhythm. That endless chorus that still plays on Earth today. Fungi glowed faint green in the dark. Fireflies blinked. Their light new and uncertain, like nature was experimenting with magic. Tiny mammals, nervous little things, darted between the roots, staying low, staying alive. Above them, small pterosaurs glided like ghosts between the branches, snatching at whatever dared to move. It was a world of predators eating predators, a never-ending chain of hunger. And through all of it, the trapdoor spider stayed still. No chase, no panic, no wasted breath. It didn't rule by fear. It ruled by patience. While the forest screamed, it listened. While everything fought for control, it waited. That was its advantage. A slow heartbeat in a fast world. Down there, time barely moved. Because when your design is already perfect, why rush? The giants above would vanish. The forest would die and return a dozen times. But the spider's plan, that silent ambush buried in the dirt, would outlast them all. Wait, strike, feed, repeat. It's the simplest rhythm in nature. And somehow, the most unbreakable. Nothing in that forest lived easy. Every heartbeat was borrowed time. The trapdoor spider had its system. Wait, strike, vanish. But even perfection gets tested. The rains came without warning. Not drizzle, walls of water that turned soil to soup. The forest floor vanished under a brown flood. Inside its tunnel, the spider felt the first drip. Then another. The silk walls trembled under the weight of water. It climbed higher, pressing against the door, trying to hold its world together. Sometimes the storm passed. Sometimes it didn't. When the tunnel filled, it had no choice. Push open the lid. Escape. Out there was worse. The surface was chaos. Mudslides, falling branches, and things that loved to eat smaller things. Lizards hunted in the runoff, darting between puddles. Centipedes as long as your hand slid through the muck. Their venom bright and fast. Small feathered dinosaurs picked through the debris, sharp eyes searching for anything that twitched. If one of them saw the spider, that was it. Game over. But luck, or instinct, usually held. The spider found a new patch of ground, waited for the flood to drop, then dug again. No panic, just procedure. The danger never stopped. Even underground, death had keys. Centipedes could dig. Snakes could squeeze. One mistake, one tremor too loud, and the hunter became the meal. Silence was its shield. It learned every rhythm of its neighbors. The pulse of rain, the scuttle of beetles, the hiss of things best avoided. Sometimes it went still for days. Not asleep, calculating. Every beat of stillness, another roll of the dice it refused to lose. And then came the worst enemy of all. Itself. To grow, it had to molt. To molt, it had to stop. Deep in the burrow, it split its old skin open and slid free. New body soft. Fangs pale. Everything fragile. For hours, maybe a full day, it couldn't hunt or hide. If anything found it then, it was over. But most times it survived. The new armor hardened. The fangs darkened. The rhythm returned. Rain, heat, flood, drought. They all came and went. The spider adjusted, slowed, waited. When prey vanished, it slowed its heartbeat, burned almost nothing, and waited out the hunger. That's the real secret. No panic, no waste. When the beetles came back, so did the strike, fast, silent, final. In a world where everything fought and failed, this spider didn't need to win big. It just never lost. And in evolution, that's enough. All it took was one wrong step. The spider had survived storms, predators, and time itself, but it never stood a chance against a tree. Somewhere in that ancient jungle, a trunk split open. Sticky resin began to flow, thick, golden, slow as honey. The spider crossed the wrong branch at the wrong time. One leg brushed the resin. It tried to pull free. Didn't work. The harder it fought, the deeper it sank. 2 legs trapped. Then 4. Then all 8. It bit the resin. Pushed with its legs. But the stuff just swallowed every movement. Resin doesn't care. It just keeps flowing. Minutes passed. Then hours. Maybe a day. The spider's strength faded. And the forest, the same forest that had kept it alive for millions of years, watched quietly while it drowned in gold. When it stopped moving, the resin sealed over it like glass. The tree kept growing. The storm came and went. And the hunter below the soil became a statue, buried, pressed, forgotten, for millions of years. The forest vanished and came back again. Dinosaurs fell. Continents drifted. Oceans rose. And still, the spider waited. Not alive, not gone, just suspended, until someone found it. In the hills of northern Myanmar, an amber miner cracked open a stone. At first, it looked ordinary, a cloudy lump the color of old honey. But inside, 8 perfect legs, curved fangs, tiny hairs still catching the light. A creature that hadn't moved in 99 million years, and somehow still looked ready to. Scientists cut and polished the amber, and under the microscope, they saw it exactly as it was the moment it died. Legs bent in a slow curl. Body tight, frozen mid-motion. Spinnerets preserved. Claws visible. It wasn't just a fossil. It was a photograph of a heartbeat that never finished. And that's what made it haunting. Because this wasn't random preservation. It was perfect timing. A death so precise. It became eternal. In that drop of amber, time folded in on itself. It didn't just keep a body. It kept a story. A moment of panic that turned into forever. And when humans finally looked inside, they weren't just seeing a spider. They were seeing themselves. What it means to fight, to lose, and to leave a trace behind. A trapdoor spider, a creature built for hiding, accidentally became one of the most visible fossils on Earth. It died in silence. But in death, it learned how to speak. It never meant to leave a legacy. It didn't plan. It didn't dream. It just was. Dig. Wait. Strike. Survive. That was enough. But somehow, that rhythm outlasted everything else. The dinosaurs vanished. The forests turned to stone. Seas came and went. And still, that same design kept showing up. Unchanged. Because why change when you already work perfectly? The trapdoor spider wasn't built to dominate. It was built to endure. It didn't run fast. Didn't fly. Didn't roar. It just waited. And waiting turned out to be the smartest move life ever made. While evolution kept experimenting, this one simply stayed. Quiet. Efficient. Timeless. Millions of years later, its descendants are still here. In Australia. In Asia. In the cracks of backyards and rainforests alike. They dig the same holes. Build the same doors. Wait the same way. You can watch one today, and you're looking straight into prehistory. No translation needed. That's the strange beauty of nature. Not everything improves. Some things just arrive complete. This spider never chased perfection. It was born with it, and buried in that amber. It left us a message, not in words, but in form. Perfection isn't about changing. It's about knowing what doesn't need to. The forest breathes again. The ground shifts. Somewhere beneath the leaves, something stirs. And just like that, after 100 million years, the trapdoor opens once more. Time doesn't erase everything. Sometimes, it just hides it long enough for us to find again. Every creature that ever lived left something behind. A mark in the dirt, a fossil in the rock, a trace in the air we still breathe. The trapdoor spider's story isn't just about survival. It's about patience. The kind of patience the universe respects. A tiny predator, buried under leaves and rain, outlasted empires, oceans, and extinction itself. Not through strength, not through power, but through balance. While the giants above fell into dust, this small thing beneath the soil kept living the same way it always had. And maybe that's the real message of the ancient world. That survival isn't about changing the world. It's about understanding your place in it. The forest that once buried it is gone. The sky that thundered above is gone. But the rhythm remains. Wait. Strike. Feed. Survive. The same rhythm that carried through centuries. Through evolution. Through time itself. Until we uncovered it again. And remembered how old perfection can be. This is more than the story of a spider. It's a message from the deep past, a whisper from the earth saying, "The world forgets the loud, but it remembers the patient." That's not just the story of a hunter. It's the story of life, the story of ages.